Hi, Paul Zajac here with Boss Battles Top Fives, and usually I've joining me Ula, but today because we are reviewing Rime the Frostmaiden, and Ula is currently playing that game as a player, we have his dungeon master and previous guest on this show, Hana Siri. Welcome, Hana. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Okay, so we got a lot to talk about in this episode. This is Run of the Frost Maiden, run by WASD20, with Nate as a DM, and there's four other players, and one of which is Michael, the Dead Aussie Gamer, who also kind of comes out a little bit as a DM in the episode, and I guess we'll talk about that. So. Top fives. It's the final. It's a culmination of course, the module. And I guess my point number five for me was how this entire series kind of led a lot of room for character development. There was literally two player characters that like physically transformed throughout the campaign. And I think that you wouldn't necessarily think that in a out of the box adventure there was such room for dynamic change. And I think that Nate, as a DM, did a lot to foster that. Um, I don't want to give too much away, although there are spoilers here. But yeah, two of the characters are physically much changed from the beginning of the series, and that comes into play. So that's my point number five. And Hannah, why don't you tell us what was our number four?
Yeah, for point number four, I think I want to highlight kind of top moments from three of the players because the fourth player kind of came out as a bit of a villain towards the end here. But the three other players who maybe got a little bit less screen time each had their own moments to shine, I think. For Grokvar, the Durgar cleric, I thought he was particularly excellent in the exploration phase, the hour before combat broke out. He was very good at taking initiative, doing a little bit of exploration, investigating the place they were in, and finding a way out of a kind of a difficult situation that the fourth player had put the remaining three in. So kudos to him for that. I wanna for Fizwick, the goblin rogue. He got to make a sneak attack with a ballista, which, if you've ever seen The Gamers 2, you know, oh, was it The Gamers 1? I can't really remember, but either way, that is such a fun trope. I've been able to do that
Sure.
once in a game myself, and I just love it. It's a rule of cool thing. It's amazing. Sneak attacking
Yeah.
with a ballista, classic. For Dron Josh, the elephantine character. I
Monkey
really
right.
liked. Yes, I had never even heard of this Path of the Depths or Depth Totem or whatever it was, Barbarian, before. I never seen that in play. And at one point, he does this really cool twist where he uses his water teleportation to get behind of the current bad guy in a way that the bad guy doesn't expect. I think he says the bad guy's like, "But there's no water behind me," and then Ron Josh is like, "I don't need water.
I need
Thanks,
it.
Charlie." And that was really cool. I like that. That was a nice twist.
Right, some little comeback there. Yeah, so right, those are I think those are three instances where those characters got to shine. So we kind of cheated on number four and gave you a few things. Okay, so our number three I think was a spell that was a really good niche spell and quite powerful in the moment, which is when Michael's character uses Investiture of Ice, which essentially grants him immunity to cold damage, which is, you know, immunity to damage is obviously super powerful. You don't see it in a lot of things, and you know, in a lot of circumstances, this is not that useful, right? But when you're playing in a cold based campaign, very useful, and it does turn out to be that way for him. And I think, you know, also wanted to point out with just in general, Michael as a character maximizes his action economy, and he did do so with. What following kind of caveats do we have?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say he kind of goes 1v1 versus the Frostmaiden at the beginning of this combat, and opening this combat with a quickened cast Meta Magic, the Investiture of Ice, is a very good play. As far as I remember, this spell is rated red on RPG Bot's Sorcerer Spell Guide, which means it's kind of a niche, often a bad pick. But for particularly Rime of the Frostmaiden, it is not a bad pick at all. This is one of the circumstances where this spell almost becomes overpowered. Of course, it became even more overpowered by the fact that he might have slightly forgotten that it is a concentration spell. And as far as I could see, he was just immune to cold for the remainder of the fight. He did not roll concentration for that once.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I know when I played with you guys, Team Norway, you guys are so good about remembering to roll concentration. I think it's really hard. I think it was Nate didn't, I think, remember to ask him to roll concentration, and he didn't remember either. It seemed.
Yeah, he
Um,
did. He did also cast a second concentration spell on top of the first one, which honestly it bothered me a little bit. But it's like it's an easy mechanic to forget as well, so I guess
yeah.
I'll forgive him.
Right. Yes. So extremely some powerful play with Investiture of Ice. Some caveats on that. It's so hard to, so easy to forget concentration. But it's, one of the reasons that those spells are so powerful is that you shouldn't be able to use two of them at one time.
As a
Okay.
person
So
coming
that
in
was our
from
number three.
Pathfinder, yeah, as a
Oh,
person coming in from Pathfinder, I used to be so annoyed at concentration because it meant you couldn't stack buffs. But it is a very core balancing feature in 5e that it's important to remember.
okay. That was our number three. What was our number two?
Fizwick! Fizwick was scheming from the very start. Actually, maybe from even past episodes. He stole a very powerful item off of our traitorous Michael, Nikos. And I really enjoyed how he played this entire thing, how he sort of did this surreptitiously without the knowledge of the player in question. This player, I mean, Michael was very surprised when he couldn't find that scroll on him. He was fully prepared to use it. And then he couldn't find it because Fizwick had already fibbed it. But then he also played kind of cautiously. He waited for the right opportunity to use it. He got himself positioned perfectly. And once the moment was right, once the time was ripe, he pulled that thing out and I was cheering. That was really, really good.
Yeah. Right. And so that leads us to our number one, which is in fact the use of the scroll, which is scroll of the comet. It appears that one of the characters has kind of been transformed. Michael's character, in the end, is turns out to be the big bad. That was another point that we had been talking about. I think that Nate, the DM, did a good job of kind of relinquishing the fact that Auril the Frostmaiden was no longer the main bad guy in this adventure, and Nate was allowed to let that. He was good in letting that go and allowing this internal player versus player dynamic emerge. And so Michael's character turns out to be, the big bad, and then Fizwick uses the scroll that the bad guy was counting on using. He uses it against him and destroys his like mothership, which was like an unexpected thing. It almost looked like the whole adventure was over, and then surprise, I'm going to destroy you with this scroll. And the lead up to that was I thought pretty good. You could see that there was, or at least it seemed that the character was like conflicted about it, like, because is there some good left in this other character that I used to like? And it was a great moment.
Yeah, and also kudos to Michael for trying to stop this with a disintegrate, so we got a classic beam fight at the end.
Yeah,
Very nice, very
yeah,
very
right.
cinematic and cool.
It definitely was a cinematic ending. Yeah, so that's it. That's our top five. We're just about at 10 minutes, so we did it again. Thank you, Hanasuri, for joining me for this episode.
Thank you, Paul.
And yeah, and so we'll see you all next time on Boss Battles Top 5.